Hey, welcome back, Wagoneers. I'm glad you're here today because I think we got a good one. We're making one of the greatest game day finger foods of all time, the jalapeno popper.
I'm going to experiment with jalapeno poppers next.
Now you're probably saying to yourself, why do I need another popper recipe? What's so special about Chuck's? Well, for one thing, I use the whole popper. I don't cut them in half. Another thing is I have a secret ingredient that I put in the breading, and that is spicy chicharrones. Chicharrones. Spicy pork rinds. And they're keto friendly, but you don't have to be on keto to enjoy them. As a matter of fact, everybody's going to love them. I like to make them for all kinds of occasions, not just game day. They're great for parties. They're perfect as a barbecue side. And another really great thing about them is you can prep them the day before and they're ready for you whenever you want to cook them. And you can cook them in a lot of different ways. You can finish them in your air fryer or your oven or your grill over indirect heat. So let's stop talking about it. Let's get to cooking. You know the drill. Let's roll.
The first thing you're going to want to do is blanch the jalapenos. Carefully put them in a saucepan of boiling water and return it to a boil. Once it's boiling again, let them cook for 2 minutes. The whole process should take you less than 3 minutes total. Because they bob around a bit, you can gently stir them, but be careful as the water is very hot. Cooking them a bit like this will soften them up and make for a much better popper. I've tried making these without blanching and the jalapenos were just too raw. Immediately put them in ice water to stop the cooking and leave them there until they cool completely, about 5 minutes or so. While the jalapenos are cooling, it's a great time to make the filling. You will need a half teaspoon each of smoked paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, pepper, cumin, and 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. Make 2 separate batches of this, one for the filling and one for the breading. I like to add a mixture of different peppers as well, about 1 cup, diced very small. Into a bowl, add 8 ounces or 1 brick of softened cream cheese. If you don't have time to wait for it to get to room temp, just zap it in the microwave for 30 seconds. Then add your cup of mixed peppers. To that, add at least a half cup of the shredded cheese of your liking. I'm going with a taco mix here. And finally your spices, and mix well. Now perhaps you're wondering why I don't add any meat, like sausage or bacon. Well, it's because I'm using pork rinds in the breading later, and I really don't think it needs it. When you're done, cover and put the filling in the fridge for at least an hour or overnight. The flavors need time to come together, and it will make it easier for stuffing the peppers later. While the filling is chilling, you can get the jalapenos ready. Using a cutting board, slice a small opening in the jalapeno and keep the piece as a cap for later. Then scrape out the seeds and membrane. I like to use a half teaspoon for this. And I strongly encourage you to wear gloves as well as protect your eyes while doing so. Then put the jalapeno into a container with some paper towel so they can dry out a bit, and rinse and repeat with the remaining jalapenos. The next step is to fill the jalapenos with the filling. Nothing too difficult here really. Using a teaspoon, just pack it in and stick the cap back on. Don't worry if the jalapeno gets a bit messy. That actually works in your favor to keep the breading on later. You'll probably have some filling left over. Save it. It's great on celery or with a bit of ham and a roll-up. As you can see, I'm pretty speedy in the kitchen. I think Walter was hoping I would drop one. He looks bummed I didn't. With your jalapenos ready to go, it's time to pulverize the pork rinds into submission. And then put them into a container for your breading station. You'll also need a half to 1 cup of almond flour. You can also use regular flour. To the flour, add the other half of the reserved spices and mix in well. Whisk 2 to 3 eggs and grab a wire rack if you have one to help the poppers dry out. Take a popper and dip it into the egg with one hand using the stem. Let the excess drip off and then drop it into the flour, coating it with the other hand. Return the popper to the egg and coat again the same way. This time, drop it into the pork rinds and coat well. Then, move the popper to the wire rack. Repeat for all poppers and let them rest for 15 minutes to dry out. Now at this point, you can store them in the fridge overnight, or you can cook them the same day. In an air fryer, set it to 375 degrees and cook for 10 to 12 minutes, rotating the racks if you have them halfway through. In an oven or a grill, the temp would be similar. What you want is an end result of something like this: crunchy but not burnt, golden to slightly browned. And let them cool in a wire rack before eating.
Okay, well, the poppers are done. I've let them cool off for a few minutes, which you definitely want to do because they can get quite hot with the filling inside. Let's dive in and have a bite. That's quite tasty. It's got a good amount of heat to it. I would say the heat level is about like pickled jalapenos or sliced jalapenos that you might put on tacos and such. So if you're cool with that, you'll be okay with this. Some of the heat could be coming from the pork rinds that I used as breading because they were spicy pork rinds. So if you wanted to eliminate a little bit of the heat, you could just go with plain pork rinds or even breadcrumbs. Parboiling it is good. The jalapenos are soft, but not like too soft. And they're not too crunchy because you don't want to eat a raw jalapeno. So I think perfectly al dente, right where you want to be. The filling has a good amount of flavor to it, even though I didn't put much in it. And I don't put much in it because these can be really heavy bites with the pork rinds as breading. You can put all kinds of fillings in the cream cheese, bacon, sausage, shrimp, whatever you like. But I like to keep it a little bit lighter because usually when I'm making these for a football game or a barbecue party or something like that, I'll make ribs, I'll make pork shoulder tacos, brisket, a lot of heavy stuff. So I like to keep these a little bit lighter. I love the fact that you can make these the day before, put them in the fridge. They're not soggy. They still have a nice crunch on the outside. I would just keep the jalapenos to, about this size. Don't go any larger. You might even want to go even a little bit smaller than these. These are about medium size for us here in Texas. I wouldn't go any bigger than this though, because like I said, it's a very filling bite. Well, I hope you give these a try, and if you do, I would love to know your thoughts about them. If you want to see what I got coming up next, like and subscribe. And for right now, I'm going to try to go catch kickoff. I'll see you later on the Chuck Wagon. I'm taking these with me. It's so good. Perfect amount of heat. It really is. Oh, we're rolling.